Jehovah's Witnesses are preaching to people, the general public, and their own, about how to combat loneliness. I made a very scientific chart. Are you lonely? Yeah, we know. We designed it that way. But don't worry, because we made a 16-page article with a bunch of tips on how to combat loneliness that we're going to walk you through. That's right, you guessed it. All leads back to us. We're the solution. Why do you say? Why am I still lonely? It's okay, it's not your fault. You're just a Jehovah's Witness. Why am I picking on the Jehovah's Witnesses? Maybe you're new here. I'm blasting them because I know the ugly truth. I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses for 30 years, and I was extremely lonely. Jehovah's Witnesses are isolated, controlled, ultimately sabotaged by their own religious community. You're not going crazy. You're not defective. You're just temporarily stuck in an absolutely suffocating alternate universe. But I am going to call out several instances of lies, hypocrisy, and deception that are quite literally driving Jehovah's Witnesses to madness, to loneliness, depression, or worse. What makes people feel lonely? Bullet point number 1, you cannot see your friends or family as often as you would like. Tell that to the thousands upon thousands of people that you've kicked out of your organization and separated them from their family members. All the thousands upon thousands of people you've disfellowshipped, family members have cut each other off, have been kicked out of their family home. Or maybe they voluntarily left. They disassociated or they just kind of were critical of the organization, just openly left. They're treated like the plague, like murderers, So this whole, maybe you're lonely because you don't have access to friends and family. Is it possible that you're contributing to that problem? That the Jehovah's Witnesses organization are responsible for a massive, massive loneliness epidemic because of the way you split up and destroy families. I noticed another bullet point. You would like to get married, but have not yet found someone to share your life with. Why is this super annoying and insulting? Jehovah's Witnesses aren't allowed to acknowledge that they have reproductive organs, right? You don't look at the other person, you don't think about the other person, and you definitely don't date outsiders, even though it's not technically a rule. You don't date an outsider because they can pull you away from the influence and control of the organization. Obviously, people get married in the Jehovah's Witnesses all the time because that's their only option for a physical release. They obviously get married, but it is a highly regulated, highly dysfunctional environment. Let me be clear about something. It's fine if you want to promote conservative values. Former J-dubs watching this know. Jehovah's Witnesses take it several steps further and enforce a system of punishments that regulates your sexuality through guilt and shame. So it's not just a matter of, well, these are my values and I'm going to follow through with this. It's, if you do it, we're going to make sure to publicly humiliate you. So you have to understand normal dating and interaction, like, hey, I like you, you like me, oh, let's go for a drink, oh, it doesn't work out. None of that exists. There's these very specific boxes that you have to fit into. It's insulting to Jehovah's Witnesses. You have to understand, like, oh, maybe you're lonely because you can't find, your marriage mate, can't find a husband or a wife. No, I could find a date real quick in the real world, but that's not an option. Within this Jehovah's Witness framework, everyone has a freaking complex and is set up for failure. In some areas, people feel pressured to work very long hours. Yeah, that's the whole world. All right. As a result, they are often exhausted. They're left exhausted with little time to build strong relationships. Others, this is the part that gets me, the most asinine sentence I've ever read. Others have limited opportunities to make friends because they live in areas with rigid social norms. Like, what? That regulate who can socialize with whom. Not only is that just like a weird sentence, it's society. It's so vague.
So you see, the puppy was like industry in that they were both lost in the woods. And nobody, especially the little boy, society, knew where to find them.
The organization regulates who you can talk to. You're not allowed to make friends at school. Even though you're an adult, you're discouraged from hanging out with coworkers. They're a dangerous influence. In case you don't know and you're new here, they refer to these non-Jehovah's Witnesses, anyone who's not a Jehovah's Witness, as worldly and bad association. Ever since infancy, when you're raised in this, that's how you're taught to view the outside world. And you're definitely, talk about rigid rules of who you can associate with, you're definitely not allowed to speak to family members who express any doubts or concerns about the organization. They're dead. So this is the height of hypocrisy. All right, mental health. Feeling lonely can affect mental health, and mental health problems can lead to more feelings of loneliness. Okay, it can trigger or intensify feelings of anxiety and depression. In turn, depression can lead a person to perceive his life as lacking purpose, deepening his sense of isolation. Furthermore, anxiety and low self-esteem can make it difficult to reach out and connect with others. I talk about this in my book. For those of you who have read it and left me nice messages and contacted me about it, I really, really appreciate it. But I talk about this in my book, that when you're in the organization, they push you to the brink of madness. They make you feel like you're going crazy. They push you to the brink of madness only to shame you for going mad. The organization creates impossibly high standards, and then they try to control every little aspect of your life. You're forever infantilized. You never grow up in the Jehovah's Witnesses. You're always treated like a child who needs somebody to guide them. Okay, so all this happens, and then when you do finally snap, they treat you like you're a mental patient. See what I'm saying? It's all gaslighting. They never take accountability. It has nothing to do with the organization. You just have mental problems and struggles that appeared out of nowhere. And I'm not saying, listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that brain chemistry doesn't play a factor, or maybe you have some predisposition to something. That's absolutely possible. But the organization will always act like, who, us? They cannot acknowledge that they're possibly contributing to the problem. Okay, so back to the article. It says factors that can increase loneliness, technology. I actually agree with this. This is not bad advice, especially for kids. No one really should be doom scrolling 24/7. That is going to affect you. That is going to have a negative impact and can contribute to loneliness. Absolutely. But like so many Jehovah's Witness talking points, they give good advice or practical, reasonable advice, but the application ends up being supremely hypocritical or just extremely skewed. Like, I remember, I'm dating myself here, I remember when MySpace, came out in high school and Instagram was new. And I remember just being super excited as a Jehovah's Witness because that meant the whole world opened up. And I don't even mean, I'm going to go crazy and talk to everybody around the world, who's worldly. But even just as a Jehovah's Witness, I can speak to other Jehovah's Witnesses. Holy crap, Seattle, Miami, Germany. This is so cool. Sure, I don't know them, but they're my people. And Jehovah's Witnesses were all over Facebook. It felt like you had a little nook to yourself, some privacy. Jehovah's Witnesses don't have any privacy. They're under constant surveillance. It felt like for the first time with social media, the other side of this is that Jehovah's Witnesses felt like for the first time they had some semblance of control over their own life. And, they did feel a little less lonely, at least at the beginning. And yep, the organization had to that up too. Elders, who are like the lead pastors, are trying to friend you. Nosy sisters and elders' wives were trying to stalk your page. And now in 2026, they launched JW Press Room, which right out the gate, everyone could see was just a monumental failure. But even if it's cringy and dumb and we all laugh at it, at least let your people talk amongst themselves, you would think, right? But Jehovah's Witnesses are discouraged from making content. And they can't even, this is the crazy part, they can't even leave a comment. Comments have been disabled. So they can't even interact with other believers. So yeah, absolutely social media has a negative side, but I guarantee you, if a Jehovah's Witness is looking for friends online, that's because they can't find friends in real life in your organization. Why do they feel the need to do this? That's a failure on your part. Put yourself in a position to make friends. Reduce activities that isolate you from others, such as excessive social media use. Again, I agree with this. Instead, look for opportunities to interact with others in person. I think everybody nowadays could agree with that they want to meet more people in real life. Again, practical information that I don't think anybody would disagree with. Greet the people you come across, throughout your day, and if possible, try to have a brief conversation. You're supposed to stay within let me give you some perspective. You're supposed to stay within your congregation week after week and support your local congregation. But I was bored out of my goddamn mind, so I was at least trying to meet my people in other places. So I would go congregation hopping. Like this Sunday, I'm going to go visit this congregation. This Thursday night or Wednesday night, I'm going to go visit this congregation on this side of town. I was just trying to meet new blood and make new friends. And that was considered suspicious. I was the weirdo for taking the initiative. And okay, so that's one side of the coin. And then how do you think Jehovah's Witnesses feel about, position yourself to make friends? How do you think Jehovah's Witnesses feel who can make friends very easily at work, at school? But again, they're not allowed to be close to them. So for all intents and purposes, you are putting yourself out there. You have no problems making friends in the outside world. Again, is it possible that Jehovah's Witnesses are lonely because they're stuck in an organization with forced manufactured fellowship, with people they don't actually connect with? Okay, check the quality of your friendships. This was interesting. Some, quote, friends, I'm going to tell you why I think that's hilarious that they put it in quotation marks. Some, quote, friends can harm you mentally and emotionally. So be selective about whom you choose as a close friend. If you are in a harmful friendship, it is wise to end it. All right, what they don't say, what they're not mentioning, is that if you have a vulnerable moment with your Jehovah's Witness friend, and express doubts or concerns about the organization, this is your buddy of 20 years, your girlfriend of 30 years or whatever. That friend is conditioned. I'm not saying they're a bad, evil person, but they're conditioned, and they will abandon you in a heartbeat and tell on you. Maybe you just don't connect. Talk about harmful friendships and it's wise to end it. Yeah, some people are frenemies. You can tell they want you to choke. Yeah, get rid of them. But what they don't say is they don't look at the broader picture. But a lot of these people, most Jehovah's Witnesses are born into the organization. We all have no choice but to be surrounded by each other. There were people that I was surrounded with that probably didn't want to be friends with me. You can't really keep it real and speak up and be yourself. People don't really know who you are. They don't know the real you. Jehovah's Witnesses have to, like I was mentioning earlier, have to check these boxes and appear a certain way. What I'm trying to say is the second you color outside the lines, it's very easy for these friends who you thought were your friends, it's very easy for them to be instantly triggered. And, when they turn on you or abandon you or whatever, it can be very shocking or jarring to your system. I just find it hilarious that they put friends in quotes. Because, that's how I feel about you. People in the organization, like my so-called friends, when they found out I was apostate, disappeared overnight. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up here towards the end, okay? Here we're getting to the bottom line, the subheading, satisfy your spiritual need. Learn about the Creator by reading the Bible. Okay, and the Bible reveals that our Creator has a name, Jehovah. There you go. You got the name drop, the Jehovah name drop. Right, so this is what bothers me. I can't stand that they do this. They write these articles and these publications as if they're writing them for the general public. And of course, the bottom line is the solution to your loneliness is to become a Jehovah's Witness. It all circles back to us. We're the solution. And even here, you'll see the final paragraph about get to know others who have found real purpose in life. They're, of course, talking about other Jehovah's Witnesses. Those are the only people who have any sort of moral or ethical compass. And there's nothing wrong with being part of a religious community or spiritual community. I think that's great if that's something that appeals to you. And you do find genuine friendship. I'm not opposed to that. But again, growing up in the organization, I can tell you this is engineered through threats and coercion, because if you ever leave the organization, you'll lose your entire support system. Even when I was growing up, when I was a young person in the organization, you're confused, frustrated. It felt like a really cruel maze that I was stuck in. Like every time I thought I found a way out, that I had a real solution or a real answer to my questions, it was like, boom, there it was mocking me at the end, like a false exit, like a trick door. Like it felt like some backroom shit. That's what they do here. Are you lonely? Do you suffer from loneliness? Well, here are some principles to follow. Go do your thing. We wish you the best. We hope you meet someone or make lots of friends at school. Nope. Psych! We are creating the very problem we're purporting to solve. I have heard that some people do feel lonelier after leaving, even though they're glad they're out of the cult and they're awake. They miss having that baked-in community. I can understand that perspective. Personally, I would rather have one genuine friend in the outside world. Even if I just had one genuine friend in the outside world, I'd be happy with that than be surrounded week after week by people, hundreds of people, where something feels off. It's like, yeah, I'm surrounded by people, but I'm still lonely because I don't feel like I can really be myself. So why is this evil and insulting? Because they know better. They know better. I don't care if you're lonely. I don't care at all. You'd be dying a slow death inside. Doesn't matter. They want compliance. So this article really pissed me off. If you are lonely, I'm sorry I can't fix it, but I see you. I'm sorry you're going through that. Please hang in there. And just know that eventually you are going to be out of this situation, out of this season of your life, and whatever's gnawing at you won't be there forever. Sorry, I'm in my goblin hoodie mode right now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like more information about the Jehovah's Witnesses from a former member of 30 years, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.